Welcome to the Worldwide Luxury Home Podcast. I am James Dewar, your realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services in beautiful San Antonio, Texas. Joining me today is my co-host, Josh Ledesma, a forever agent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, who is also zooming in on today's podcast. Welcome, Josh.
Good morning, James. I'm excited to be here. Excited to welcome a new guest to the show. Happy Monday, fellas.
Well, I tell you what, this is going to be an amazing show, and we're traveling to Mexico today, and so each Worldwide Luxury Home Podcast will take our listeners to a different city across the United States and across the world to learn about the lifestyles and luxury homes in that city. Today we have a special guest, is Greg Gunter. He's coming to us from San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. And Greg, as most of his clients refer him to, is as the Dream Home Realtor. As San Miguel's Dream Home expert, Greg is the broker owner. Listen to this, Josh. Broker owner of the first and flagship office in Mexico of the Warren Buffett real estate empire, Berkshire Hathaway. Welcome, Greg.
Good morning, team. Buenos dias from San Miguel de Allende in central Mexico, ranked the #1 city in the world 9 times. How's that?
There
Beautiful
you go.
Place. You guys need to come visit.
And you're the #1 realtor for Berkshire Hathaway there.
Well, I'm the first one. I'm the first one. We don't really measure volume, but at least I'm the first one to open up. So yeah, we were the first one. I got hold of Berkshire Hathaway and said, hey, I've been the #2 guy in the country for the largest real estate franchise in all of Mexico. I was #2 for the whole country.
Wow.
And I said, I'm interested, Berkshire Hathaway, aren't you guys about ready to open in Mexico? And a guy named Gino Blafari called me back 20 minutes later. I'm like, Gino, wow.
Wow.
So yeah, I was able to open the very first office here. Love it. We now have 4 offices, by the way. We now have 4 Berkshire Hathaway offices across Mexico. So I opened the first one in San Miguel, but we have one in Cabo, we have one in Puerto Vallarta, and we have one in Cancun.
Great. So Greg, tell our listeners a little bit about Greg Gunter.
Well, I'm an architect by undergrad training. I got my MBA in real estate and finance a few years later, since architects starve to death. And I've been a retail developer most of my career. I mean, I started building homes when I was 15 and was, an architect. When I worked as an architect for those first few years, I worked in the residential industry. So home building, designing homes, that's kind of been in my blood since I was a kid. And when I basically my real estate development company, my retail development company went belly up in the Great Recession, I had already made plans to move to San Miguel. I just thought I'd be running that old company from here, and that changed. So when I moved down here and didn't quite know what to do, the idea of becoming a realtor was kind of a natural segue for my career, and so that's what I did. I went to work with another big master franchise in Mexico. Worked with them for 8 years before giving Berkshire Hathaway a call and asking them if they were ready to open an office, and thankfully they were. So my timing was good. So that's kind of my background. It's been an interesting, residential development to commercial retail development, back to residential as a broker, first as a realtor, now as a broker. Yeah.
So that's an amazing background, and that's why our listeners needed to contact. Go to buyahomglobal.com, send us a note. We'll introduce you to Greg. And for somebody who knows the ins and outs as an architect, as a builder, homes. So there's nobody more qualified than you, and also your history as a Dream Pro realtor for San Miguel is amazing. So when somebody is looking at buying their primary luxury home or second or third luxury home in San Miguel, Mexico, why would they use your brokerage?
One of the nice things about why I joined Berkshire Hathaway Home Services is because we are an American franchise. I love that. That gives me the biggest point of distinction here in Mexico. All the other flags down here in Mexico are master franchises. I worked for one for 8 years. I know that all too well. I had no connection with that other master franchise with their corporate parent in the United States. And down here, I'm an American franchise, just like I was in San Antonio or Irvine or Dallas or, wherever. So I'm able to offer my clients a lot of those same advantages of being part of an American network, especially my sellers. From my buyer's perspective, we have more outreach to let them know, what's going on in the marketplace here. We have a digital marketing campaign that we do nationwide in the US. So I have a lot to offer both my seller and my buyer clients here in San Miguel as this unique American franchise, the only one really in all of Mexico, but especially in San Miguel de Allende. It's a great advantage.
Yeah, what a great perspective. Just, from this side, not really quite understanding or even realizing that that's such an advantage for you as an agent. Greg, what can you tell us about the lifestyle there in San Miguel? What's a week like down there? If I'm looking to purchase a second home or a luxury home, what do I have to look forward to?
This is a big expat destination. So a lot of my clients are retirees. We joke here that you move to Miami to die and you move to San Miguel to live.
Love it.
So it's because there's so much to do down here. We're the little Manhattan down here. We're a city of about 150,000 people, but we have over 550 restaurants on TripAdvisor. We have the largest English language, social, and cultural infrastructure anywhere in Mexico. So if your Spanish is still not that great, like mine, I'm still not that great at Spanish after 14 years of living here. You can go to the theater, the opera, the symphony, the musical performances, all in English here. So you've got a great entertainment network that's all in your native language. We are the culinary capital of Mexico. We are the equestrian capital of Mexico. We are the second largest wine district in Mexico behind Northern Baja. So we're a natural hot springs area. So there's a lot of, thermal spas and hot springs here. So from a things to do sort of entertainment perspective, we are the most active expat destination in all of Mexico. The theater scene alone, we've got probably a half a dozen different theatrical groups here that have 4 or 5 different plays going at any given time for a little town of 150,000 people. I mean, put that in comparison. So we offer the kinds of social and cultural infrastructure you would typically see in a city of 750,000 people. Even though our little village of 150,000 people, I can walk across town in 25 minutes, all the way from the core of town, at least from one side to the other, I can walk in about 25 minutes. So it's a very walkable European style little village, and we all love that. I have a brand new car I've had for a year, for instance, and I only have 3,000 miles on that car in 1 year. So that'll show you how much I walk.
Yeah, that's the impression I got when I looked at the pictures that we'll be showing our viewers when we put this on the YouTube video also. But your architecture is European, and I think of the Antonio Gaudi architect, as you know, who did Sagrada Familia. And that's the first thing that I thought of after seeing that in Barcelona. When I saw your pictures of your downtown, that's the images I had. So it's like it's a European city, a lot of culture. Amazing.
Yeah, you're referencing our famous church that's called the Parroquia.
Right.
And it has that pink Cantera stone and the spires that rise from the Parroquia are very similar to La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. So yeah, it's a very similar, ironically enough, it's actually based on a cathedral in Cologne, Germany.
Okay.
But a lot of us think it looks a lot like La Sagrada. So yeah, you're right, but that's our iconic Eiffel Tower. So the way that it's the very heart of town, it's right on our town square, which here in San Miguel is called the Jardín. And so the way that we measure home values here is based on your walking radius from that Parroquia.
Yeah.
And most of my clients, the overwhelming majority of my clients like to be within about a 15-minute walking radius of that Jardín. I live within a 12-minute walk of the Jardín. That's why I walk everywhere. When I go to dinner, when I go to closings. So I do my closings in the office downtown. I walk to the closings. So I walk pretty much everywhere unless I'm driving clients around to show them the whole city. It's a great lifestyle. Keeps you healthy too.
Hell yeah. So you touched a little bit about the restaurants. So tell us a little bit more about the restaurant scene in San Miguel, Mexico.
It's just amazing. I mean, I work as a realtor, so I don't get out very much. Haven't had a chance to sample the 550. I probably know 50 of them. So you can go to a different restaurant every day of the week and still not do it, experience all of them in a year. But we've got famous international chefs that come from all over the world. I mean, one of our chefs is a Mexican chef who had a restaurant in London for 20 years. And when he decided to come back to Mexico, he had to decide where to land. And he said, wow, San Miguel has become the culinary capital since I left. So he came back to San Miguel instead of going to Mexico City. We see a lot of that sort of thing. One of our most famous restaurants here is owned and operated, and the chef was the chef at the Tavern on the Green and the Hay Adams. So great background, great experience. It's a place called The Restaurant, and it's always on my restaurant list that I give to clients. But a number of other ones as well, like the Quince restaurant. Robb Report named their rooftop terrace as the #1 rooftop restaurant terrace in the world. I just ate at the Daniele in Venice last week, so that's saying a lot. If the one in Quince got rated above the Daniele in Venice, man, that's something. That's just an example of a couple of the restaurants here in town. They're phenomenal.
Well, we're definitely ready to go there, and our listeners are too. Again, Greg is available. Your Dream Pro Realtor for San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. I like to refer to it as San Miguel because my Spanish isn't that great, but you've been there 14 years. That's I'm thinking you're being a little modest on your Spanish, but so tell us about what activities, if you're going outside the city to the wineries or to hiking, or what type of activities are for the person who likes to stay active. Like you said, this is a very walkable area, and people who go there want to be active and they want to live. What do you do when you go out, an hour away from town or half an hour?
It's funny because a lot of people, when you say Mexico, they think beach. A lot of clients will say, so how close are you to the beach? I'm like, no, I'm in the middle of the country. That's like asking someone from Kansas City, how close they are to the Monica Pier. We're in the very middle of the country, so we tend to attract not the beach crowd that likes to hang out in the sun all day long, but more of the cultural and educational higher demographic. So a lot of those kind of people come here for history and art. We're a 480-year-old city, and we're a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So that I live, work, and play in a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Imagine that, guys. Most UNESCO sites are a pile of rubble off in the jungle. There's a lot of old pyramids that you could never live in, of course, and I actually live and work. My office is the only office in our entire franchise of 1,500 offices that's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Wow. I've got a little tiny sign because that's all the city lets me do. It's a UNESCO protected storefront for Berkshire Hathaway. So back to your question, a lot of people here come for the cultural and art activities, art, theater, that sort of thing. History as well. We do have our own historic pyramid here in town as well. People will come for the wineries like you just mentioned. They'll come for the hot springs. They'll come for any of our large festivals here. We have the largest bilingual film festival. The Guanajuato International Film Festival is held here every year for the last 17 years. The San Miguel Writers Conference is the largest bilingual writers conference in the world. The Jazz and Blues Festival. I mean, I could go on and on. The number of festivals that we have are endless. We have Vendemmia. We just came out of August, and we have our Vendemmia events at all the wineries in August. So every weekend there's a huge grape stomping festival where you wine and dine and join or at least you watch all the ladies stomping the grapes. I kind of tend to sit in the back and watch. I don't get out there and stomp myself, but lots of great Vendemmia events. So tons to do. I mean, it's one of those things. If you're bored in San Miguel, it's your own fault.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Thanks for sharing that, Greg. And so you mentioned some of those recurring events. And would you say there's like a busy time or busy season versus a non-busy season, or what can you speak to that?
We have a very temperate year-round spring-like climate. So, but nonetheless, the snowbirds love to come down here. So even though winter is our coolest season, Winter meaning it'll still be in the upper 70s every day during the wintertime down here, but we'll get a 40-degree diurnal swing in the wintertime. And we still get about a 25-degree diurnal swing in the summertime. So the snowbirds love to come down from about mid-December through the end of April. So that's a very busy season there, a lot more cultural and social activities going on. But then I jokingly say the sweatbirds, you Texans, love to start coming down in June, because we still cool down, like I said, to about 55 or so degrees at night in the summertime. Nobody has air conditioning here because nobody needs it. We're at 6,400 feet in altitude. So, you know, all the sweatbirds love coming down here because it's so nice and comfortable and gets cool at night, and, you know, very good sleeping temperatures. And you have nothing but at the most a ceiling fan going on. Nobody has to run air conditioning here. I've had clients that move up from the coast. You know, they thought Puerto Vallarta was the great place to live. And they said, oh my God, I'm spending $600 a month on my electric bill to run my air conditioner 24 hours a day. They moved to San Miguel because all they need is a little fresh breeze. It's great.
Well, I definitely need to put San Miguel on my list. I just got back from Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I have a place, and that's very similar, but sounds like you're even better. I mean, the temperature is better in Santa Fe even.
That's a good point, James. We have a lot of overlap with Santa Fe. I have a lot of clients that move from Santa Fe. The art infrastructure and focus in Santa Fe is very similar down here. We're a very artistic community. So everybody down here does something, paints, throws pottery, you know, does encaustic art. I'm a novelist, for instance, myself. You know, I told you we have our big writers conference here. So there's a lot of us that are writers as well. But there's a very big artistic community. But the difference with Santa Fe is it snows, it gets cold in Santa Fe, and that doesn't happen here.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Greg, tell us about the luxury homes there in your area. I know you said most of them are walkable. Tell us about the typical luxury home.
Let me share with you two ends of the spectrum. One of the photos that you're going to show our viewers here in just a moment is our most famous listing in town. I have the most expensive and most famous listing in town by a starchitect named Ricardo Legarreta. He's like a Mexican version of a Frank Lloyd Wright. Everybody knows that name, Frank Lloyd Wright. You may not know the name Ricardo Legarreta, but he's very famous. He's an AIA gold medal winner and truly a starchitect. Joel Silver, the American producer, has his Ricardo Legarreta home in Beverly Hills on the market for $52 million. I've got a Ricardo Legarreta on the market down here for $7 million. A little cheaper, a little more affordable. It sits right in the UNESCO zone, an 8-minute walk to the Jardín. It's a phenomenal property. So at that upper end of the spectrum, and that's a record. We don't have anything else that. From there, I dropped down to 3.3 million, for instance. And you know, we have a couple of other $3 million listings, but we never sell homes in the $7 million listing. So we're a much more affordable market down here. You can still get a home in a good neighborhood that's within walking distance for the 350 to 500 range as well. So I'm selling one that's right in Centro, a 10-minute walk, for instance, for 650. That's a great, you know, kind of a pied-à-terre right in Centro, right in the end of a cul-de-sac, nice and quiet, protected views of the parochia from the roof terrace, which is what everybody wants. They love that, having cocktails on the roof terrace. Everybody has a roof terrace here. That's one of the advantages of living here. So you've got a roof terrace with these phenomenal skyline views. If you're fortunate or you spend a little bit more money, you'll get that view of the parochia. That's the money shot. Everybody loves to see the parochia at sunset. So yeah, you can get the full range. 7 million is really at the upper end. I just sold one for 3.2 million. I've got another one for 1.3 million, but truly, I just sold one a few months ago for 275. And it was a new 2-bedroom condo that was a 12-minute walk to the Jardín. So we've got the full range. You don't need to think that it's going to be out of your budget range just because I mentioned 7 million. You can find, you know, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes here as well. Oh,
great. So, Greg, I really appreciate you being here today. Greg Gunter in San Miguel, Mexico, the broker owner of the first flagship Berkshire Hathaway American-owned franchise in Mexico. That's amazing. You've done such a great job there, and both Josh and I can hear your passion in your words, and that's very similar to other agents you'll find in our network. And people can go to buyahome.global.com, reach out to us. We'll introduce you to Greg and for your next home. And Josh, I don't know why I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I want to be in San Miguel other than Santa Fe right now.
I'm surprised it took you this long. I'm surprised it took you this long.
Well, the
I mentioned
evaporator
it.
coolers, I had some problems with that earlier in this season. So it sounds like I wouldn't even have to have that over there, would I?
Didn't sound like
No,
that.
I was going to say, I've had a lot of people from California properties. Marcus and Christy are a couple of friends of mine and they've been down here and they absolutely love it down here as well. And they live in Beverly Hills, for God's sake. So, the Beverly Hills folks love it down here too. So it really appeals to a broad spectrum. We have a lot of Hollywood people that live down here. The guy that founded MTV owns a huge home down here. So, the Casa Dragones tequila company is based here and the founder. So there's a big, quiet Hollywood jet set down here as well, so it appeals to a broad range of retirees and adventurers like myself.
Well, Greg, I really appreciate you being here and for sharing us about San Miguel, Mexico. And is there any last words about, the difference between, I know we wanted to do another video with you, if that's okay with you, later on, maybe in October.
We'll cover a future video on the process of buying here because it is very different, team. You viewers that are watching that have maybe heard rumors that you can't own property in Mexico is not true. When you're purchasing in my part of the country, you're actually owning the property fee simple with a deed, just like in the United States. That's not true on the coast. When you're buying a condo down in Cabo or Cancun, you don't own it. It's a bank trust. So we'll get into that in more detail with another video. You're right, but yeah, that's a future video to do.
Well, we look forward to having you there. And Greg Gunter, Berkshire Hathaway award-winning agent in San Miguel, Mexico. Josh, thank you for being here today. And I want our viewers to stay tuned to our next videos. We're going to be traveling to Tampa, Florida, Missoula, Montana. And then, of course, I am very interested in learning about buying a home in San Miguel. May sell my Santa Fe place there, Josh. So thanks again, Greg. Thank you, Josh. And this is a worldwide podcast worldwide luxury home podcast brought to you by buyahome.global.com.
Come on down, team.
We're looking forward to it.